Saxon Algebra 1/2. Greetings, students. We're on lesson 118, but what that means is that we are starting the last week of the year, okay? Remember, we're scrambling up the lessons a little bit, so the numbers are off a bit from what was printed on your form. So if you've got that handy, if you've got your form like this handy, grab it and let's fix it. If not, you can just copy these numbers down. The lessons for this week are going to be 118, 119, 122, and 123. I wrote them incorrectly. 118, 119, 122, and 123. I'm not sure even I can read those. I'll write them down here. 118, 119, 122, 123. There they are in all their glory. Those will be our last 4 lessons for the year. All right. 118 and 119 go together. They are both about volume unit conversions. That looks weird, but don't worry about it. We have used unit multipliers to adjust lengths, right? Like if we want to go from feet to inches, we create a unit multiplier. We would know feet would go on the bottom, inches go on the top. We know that a foot is bigger, so we put a 1 there. How many inches are in a foot? Oh, 12. So if we had 7 feet, let's just say, and we wanted to convert it to inches, we would multiply it by this multiplier, and we would get 7 times 12 inches as our final answer. I'm doing a quick review here, all right? But what if instead of it just being feet, what if it was feet squared? Let's take the very same numbers, 7 feet squared, right? It's a tarp, right? And we want to convert it into inches because the tent that we are buying, we want this tarp to fit underneath the tent. That's one of our major uses for tarps in our family. We want to make sure that this tarp is going to be big enough to fit underneath our tent, but the base of the tent is measured in square inches. So we want to convert that to make sure that this tarp is going to be big enough. So we can put it over a 1 again. And we know that this multiplier is our friend. But this time, because it's squared, we have to do it twice. Okay, this was just 1-dimensional, so we only need to do it once. Now we need to do it twice. And it'll be the same thing. We'll put foot on the bottom here, foot on the bottom here. This actually represents 2 feet, right? Because it's squared. So we'll cross one off and then we'll cross the other across. Perfect. We're good. These will both be inches. A foot is bigger, an inch is smaller. There are 12 inches in a foot. And now our final answer will be 7 times 12 times 12 inches squared. That's how big the tarp needs to be to fit underneath our tent. Okay, so this is length unit multipliers. Length equals 1 dimension. This is area, and area equals 2 dimensions. That's why we have the square. Here there's an invisible 1, right? So guess what? Now we're going to do 3 dimensions. And guess what? We're going to do it 3 times, right? And because it's volume that we measure in 3 dimensions. Okay? So length is 1 dimension, area is 2 dimensions, volume is 3 dimensions. We know that because of the exponent we put on the unit. And then that drives for us how many times we have to use the unit multiplier. For volume, spoilers, we're going to do 3. All right, I'm not going to do it in this example. I'll just draw it. Right, and it would be the same. 12 inches over 1 foot, because we're doing the same problem, right? But we would just use the very same unit multiplier 3 times. Because what we're doing is we're converting each dimension, right? So these would all cancel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There would be the 3 inches left, and our answer would be 7 times, we can write it like this, right? 12 to the 3rd inches cubed. Excuse me. Got a little carried away. All right, so that's the lay of the land. That's what we're going to be doing in these problems. We're going to be using the unit multiplier 3 times to adjust for the 3 dimensions. And we're going to be using in this lesson, let me just adjust the title. You can go back and do this. This is in what we call English units. Another way to say this is American units, because we're pretty much the only country that still uses these wacky, weird measures like feet, inches, pounds, miles. Everybody else uses the metric system, and that's going to be lesson 119 is metric. But in lesson 118, we're going to do those English or American units. And let's take a look. There's 3 problems in this lesson, 3 examples. Use 3 unit multipliers to convert 14 cubic feet to cubic inches. Okay, cubic means 3 is the exponent. Okay, so let me just get this number down again. It's 14 cubic feet. Now, instead of writing feet cubed, I like to write feet 3 times so that I'll be able to cancel it directly. I like it better like that. I'm going to put this over 1 just because it looks better. And we're trying to adjust this to cubic inches. So again, I'm going to write inches, inches, inches. All right, and John is nice enough to tell us that we're going to need 3 unit multipliers to do this. Okay, and as soon as we see that it's a cubic measurement, 3 is the exponent. And as soon as we see that it's cubic, we know it's a volume because it's also 3 dimensions. If that helps you remember. Okay, we know how to get from feet to inches. We just did it in my example. All 3 of these are going to do that. Whoops, that's an N. We're going to want feet on the bottom so we can cancel. We'll want inches on the top. And that's good because that takes us to where we want to go. What's bigger, an inch or a foot? A foot, so that gets the 1. The bigger unit gets the 1. And then the smaller unit is where we have to remember, oh, how many of those little things go in the big thing? 12. Okay, let's cancel. 1, 2, 3. There's why I like to write it out, because that's very satisfying to me to cancel each one. And we're left with inches cubed, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, now all we have to do is multiply across. I've got 1s on the bottom, so it's 14 times 12 to the 3rd power. It's really nice to simplify our answer instead of writing out each 12, which isn't wrong. I could write 14 times 12 times 12 times 12, but this is so much better. And then I'm going to write inches cubed underneath it just because it looks a little neater. I like having this here so that I can circle it and be sure I'm right, but I like to rewrite the units so it's pretty. I'm just looking at the answer. John writes out 14 times 12 times 12 times 12. This is right also. Okay, let's do another. Use 6 unit multipliers. Wait, 6? 6 unit multipliers to convert 140 cubic yards. So I'm just going to write out yards, yards, yards. And this time I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Here I was a little sloppy. I want all those yards to clearly be in the numerator. And then the denominator is just a plain one. This, they were kind of floating. I can do better than that. All right, 6 unit multipliers. And we need to end up with inches. Inches, inches, inches. Now this is going to get a little crazy, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my units and first figure out what I'm going to have to do. 6 unit multipliers, and I know it's a volume, so I know I'm going to have to do 3 for each jump, right? So that tells me I'm going to have to do 2 different units because each jump we'll need to do 3 times. So the first jump will be 1, 2, 3, and the second jump will be 4, 5, 6. All right? This gets a little crowded, and I'm going to show you a shortcut. But this time I'm just going to write it all out. Okay, so these are going to be our 6 unit multipliers. In this one, I'm going to go yards to feet, and then in this one, I'm going to go feet to inches. Now, you might be thinking, as I am, but I know how many inches are in a yard. I could do it in one jump. There's 36 inches in a yard because 12 inches in a foot and 3 feet in a yard. I can figure that out really fast. I know, just play along with John. Okay, so each one I know I have to do 3 times because we're in the 3rd dimension. So for this first one, I want to go yards to feet. I want yards on the bottom, and I want feetsies on the top. A yard is bigger than a foot, and there are 3 feet in a yard. Okay, there are my first 3. Fabulous. Let's cancel our yards. 1, 2, 3. There is the satisfying reason I write those out. Now we've got everything in feet. Okay, so that's my new top unit. So I know here when I go feet to inches, now I'm going to want the feet on the bottom because, again, I want those to cancel. And I'll have the inches on the top, which is good because that means my answer will be in inches, and that's exactly what I want. Yay. Let's cancel the feet. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. That's all going to work out. I've already canceled, but I haven't written my numbers in yet. I got excited. Okay, what's bigger, an inch or a foot? A foot is bigger. How many inches in a foot? 12. Okay, everything cancels. The units look good. I've got 6 multipliers. Fabulous. So my final answer is 140. I'll do it the long way this time. Times 3, times 3, times 3, times 12, times 12, times 12. Just ones on the bottom so I don't have to write it. Inches cubed. That is definitely doing it the long way, isn't it? Writing all of this out. I could have written 140 times 3 cubed times 12 cubed. Inches cubed. That would also be correct. John doesn't always do this shorthand. He usually writes it out, but I'm fine with you using the shorthand. Okay, one more. Are you ready? Bum, 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 bum. We're on the 2nd page. This way a little bit, I think. Example 118.3. Beautiful. Use 6 unit multipliers. It's so nice when he tells us, right? We know this is a volume conversion. We know it's going to take 3 multipliers to change each unit, to change 1 unit, right? It's going to take 3 multipliers. So 6 tells us we're going to have to make 2 jumps. Use 6 unit multipliers to convert. Oh, wow, it's a really big number. 50,163,529. And that is cubic inches. So I'm going to write inches, 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 and I'm going to put it over 1. That's doing it the right way. And then we want to convert this to cubic miles. miles, miles, miles. Okay, now this is a really big, very awkward number, but it's okay because we don't actually have to do anything with it, right? We're not actually multiplying or doing anything with these numbers. We're just arranging them nicely. So that's fine. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you my little shorthand trick. Technically, I would need to draw 6 boxes in here, right? Holy cow. I don't have room for that. So I'm going to draw 2. I need to go from inches to miles. I don't know how many inches are in a mile, and I can't calculate that easily in my head like I could with the yards. So in this one, I'm going to go inches to feet, and here I'll go feet to miles. That's the one I know. But because we're converting volume, I'm going to have to count that I'm doing that 3 times. That doesn't stand for X like a variable. That stands for, like, you know how 3 times we have to do that? It's like a multiplication sign. All right, so that's going to remind me that I'm only writing that down once, but I have to use it 3 times. So that when I go to write my answer, I can't just write this once. I have to write it 3 times. Okay, inches I want on the bottom. Feet I want on the top. What's bigger, an inch or a foot? A foot. 12 inches in a foot. Great. 3 times, don't forget. This one, okay, now I've got boom, boom, boom. And this is the only downside of this is I just cross it out 3 times because it represents 3, not just 1. All right, now I've got feet. So I'm going to want feet down here, and I'm going to want miles up here. I'm doing it 3 times. That's right. What's bigger, a mile or a foot? A mile. 5280. Feet, 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 feet. There we are. Here's our miles. And there's 1, 2, 3. That just reminds me again, I have to do this 3 times. We got ourselves there. Now I'm ready to write my answer. I start with this big, crazy number. And then I'm going to multiply. Oh, no. There are only 1s on the top, so I don't need to do anything more on the top. These numbers are in the bottom. 12 cubed and 5280 cubed miles cubed. There is our final answer. Oh, wow. It's big and crazy, but this is my trick of writing the multiplier just once and then reminding myself I have to use it 3 times. Remember, that's what this stands for. It doesn't mean X. This doesn't mean X like a variable. It means like 3 times 7 equals 21, right? I'm saying multiply this by 3. Or do it 3 times is really what I mean. I don't mean multiply it. I hope that didn't confuse you. All right? If you want, you can just leave that out and just remind yourself you have to do. You can write that up there if you want. But we're using this box 3 times, but we're just writing it once because life is short and paper is precious. All right. We now can adjust using 6-unit multipliers. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Feel smart. All right, that's the end of lesson 18. Tomorrow we will do a lesson where the process will be the same. We'll just be using metric units instead of English or American units, which is easier. Okay, goodbye.